So hello everyone. In my presentation, I won't have another brain image, but I will have, and I promise, many happy kids. And this is my research study, and I'm looking on developmental aspect of fluency. I would like to thank to SIGA Lab. Across the years, we are going to see a database that starts actually from kindergarten until grade 7, and there are many people and contributors to this great database, and I would like to thank everyone, and of course to Linda for supporting this study. So what we're going to talk about the study and why we are suddenly looking on not just on the content of fluency, but in a different perspective. So there were several studies saying, and were called for expansion of the term of fluency, and we're calling to incorporate developmental view, not just looking on students in certain time in their lifespan, but look how fluency looking across the years. Another group of studies were calling to look on fluency, not just one component, and I'm going to expand a little bit about it. Traditional definition, we're looking on fluency as outcome of reading rate and accuracy at the word level. More multidimensional definition, talking about fluency as the achieving as achieving reading fluency that involves successful integration of information from phonological, orthographic, semantic, syntactic, and morphological processes. So we see that this definition of just accurate and right started to look more broad. And what I would like to suggest today is really a broader look on fluency. Another group of study was talking about fluency and the idea of looking on different populations. And this is actually the third, not looking on fluency, different age and different kind of learners. And we are going to look on this study on two different kind of learners. We're going to look on typical and on slow readers. So there are two main questions that brought my interest were, what is fluency and how does it look developmentally? And the first research question will be, will the same variables predict fluency for grade 2, for grade 4, and for grade 6 readers? And the second one will be, will the same variables predict reading comprehension in those 3 grades? I'm going to look specifically on 4 variables that we know contribute to the reading comprehension process, and to fluency to some extent. They are phonological awareness, word reading, syntactic awareness, and working memory. Our participants were a very unique one. All were English speakers in North Vancouver, Canada, and we were looking on longitudinal data. We were studies 30 schools, and again, the study that I'm going to present today is only part of a very longitudinal study, so I'm going to eliminate my look only to the native English speakers, although many studies we conduct on ESL that were also in this district. The students that we are going to look today are from grade 2 to grade 7, from the same pretty much SES. And the unique of this district that contained 30 schools was that there were 2 intervention programs that were actually part of the curriculum of all those schools. The first one was Film Foundation that was introduced in kindergarten and was emphasizing phonological awareness. And the other one was Reading 44, which worked along the years from grade 2 on strategies. We also wrote lots of studies about those intervention programs. I just wanted to give you the context. For this study, we decided to split the students to two groups. We have the slow readers and the typical readers. The slow readers were the ones that in grade 7 performed below the 25th percentile on the Towery word reading measure, which is a measure that you need to read a list of words within 45 seconds. And our typical readers will be the one that score above the 35th percentiles. We eliminate the student between the 50 that were between the 25th and the 35th percentile. Overall, we have 591 students that were typical readers in terms of their fluency, and there were 32 students that performed below the 25th percentiles, and we call them slow readers. Just to give you a little bit of a feeling of what were the measures, and they were very, very similar to what Linda presented, so I'll just go through them. This was the one word reading fluency measure that we administered between the grade 2 and the grade 6. In grade 7, we administered the Towery, but between grade 2 to 6, the students were required to read a list of words within 1 minute, starting from very simple words and then get to more complex words. The verbal working memory was the same like Linda presented, starting from simple and then going to 3 and 4 required. The students needed, for example, to read to complete. Running is fast, walking is, and to complete, say, slow. At the library, people read books. An apple is red, a banana is yellow, and then the examiner was asking them, now tell me the 3 last words that you just mentioned. Oral clause, exactly the same measure as Linda presented, and the phonological awareness measure was a word attack, a list of words that the student needed to read accurately. We looked retrospectively, so once we split our sample to slow readers and typical reader, we wanted to see about their performance in grade 2, 4, and 7. So in grade 2, the students our slow readers performed significantly lower than the typical readers on all the 3 measures of reading a word, reading pseudo words, and reading comprehension, and also on our measures of fluency of words, fluency of non-words, work and oral clause. The only measure that they were not performing in a significantly different way was on the working memory words in grade 2. In grade 4, we have very similar picture. Again, we see that the slow readers perform significantly different and lower than the typical reader. We see the graph that is, those are percentile, but as you can see, they are not below the 25th percentile in their performance of their reading measures. They are between the 30 and the 50. So we can see that this is a different profile of students. And this is again the grade 4 performance. In grade 4, all the measures were significantly different. Grade 6, we have the same picture. Significant difference between the typical readers and the slow readers. In order to understand more about the fluency, we look again of what will predict fluency. And this is actually a very, very interesting finding that we found. In grade 2, in grade 4, and in grade 3, we see that when we throw all the variables into the stepwise regression, for the slow readers, the word reading became as a significant predictor of reading fluency across the years. In grade 2, also the working memory. But across the years, it was the word accuracy that predict reading fluency. When we look on the typical readers, we see that for them, for typical readers, in order to perform well in fluency, they are relying on more variables. In grade 2, for example, they're also relying on oral close. In grade 4, they're relying also on phonological awareness. And in grade 6, they're relying also on working memory. And this is a very important information for us, because when we have students with difficulties in grade 2, in fluency, we know that we need to help him not just in fluency or with accuracy. We need to help him also in oral close, in syntactic awareness, in language skills. We also know when we have a student with great difficulty in grade 6, we know that he probably needs to, we need to support not just fluency, because we need to help him bring into the picture, into the reading process, more components. So this is something that we need to pay attention specifically when we're working with students. And when I thought about it developmentally, I thought, and based on this result, I tried to build a model that will say that at the beginning, and as we all know, and it's something that I'm not the first one, and probably many before me said, before we starting to work, and Linnea Harry, of course, before we start to learn to work on when we want to work on fluency, we must start work on accuracy. So this will be our base of the pyramid. But it's not the end of the story. If we want to work on fluency, we need to work at least on also syntactic awareness and phonological awareness and working memory, because those were very significant variables that contribute to the fluency story. And probably there are more, right? But we need to know developmentally which kind of variables contribute to the process of fluency. And we significantly see that they are different for typical readers and for slow readers. The second research question was, will the same variables predict reading comprehension? So now let's put the fluency and let's put all the other 4 variables and let's see how they're going to interact and to predict for us the reading comprehension story developmentally. So we did a stepwise regression, and this is very, very interesting. Let's look, first of all, only on the slow readers across the years. And as you can see in the red, fluency is the only one that predicts reading comprehension for slow readers. So when they need to do reading comprehension, they rely mostly on fluency. That's the process that they are engaging. And of course, we know that for typical readers, you need so many other processes in order to comprehend in an efficient way. So now let's look year by year developmentally. In grade 2, we see that typical readers engage into the process oral close, fluency and working memory. Now, slow readers, the fluency explained 48% of the story of comprehension. There are many more variables that probably are in the story of comprehension and we didn't measure, but it's quite significant to see that 48% of the story of comprehension is being explained by fluency across the years. When we look on grade 6, for example, we see that for typical readers, we have working memory, fluency, oral close, word reading. All those will contribute typical reader to his reading comprehension ability. But again, you can see that those, we're talking only about 27%. So probably we need to know more, and we know that we need to know more about reading comprehension. And Rita is saying yes, and hopefully Rita and Anat will present it later on today, the story about reading comprehension and fluency in the higher grades. So So what are the implications and what can we learn from a study like that? So first of all, in terms of developmental look, we need to know that fluency, it is a complex ability. It is a complex skill. It's not just accurate and rate. And yes, the accurate and rate are the basic mechanism to start to operate the fluency process, but we need to put more wheels into this story in order to have it work in an efficient way. And we need to understand that at any age we need to work differently when we need to develop fluency. In terms of the definition, we're moving from very traditional definitions that talk about accurately and rate to multidimensional definition. And based on the results of this study, I would like to suggest, and I'm not sure what Svea will say about it, we convinced Linda to come and think that fluency is important, but I would like to suggest that we might call it in a very different way. We might call it fluency the wrong way. We might need to term fluency online reading comprehension, and it is actually the process of reading comprehension, and I will explain why. We saw in the regression that so many variables came into play when we talked about fluency. Those are all the measures that we need to engage when we are talking about reading comprehension. And we actually must have comprehension in a syntactic way, in a phonological way, in accurate way, in order to process the information. So it might be that fluency is actually not fluency. We're actually measuring online comprehension, and what we calling traditionally reading comprehension, it's actually the product of the online comprehension, because we are actually measuring questions or phrases that we remember from what we were reading, a different level of comprehension, but maybe fluency is the real reading comprehension. So this is my suggestion. This study also have lots to suggest about intervention developmentally, and how we should work with students that have challenges and are slow learners, and say that we need, although they were not falling behind in all the measures, there were students that were at risk because they were in all the measures throughout the years 2, 4, and 6 perform in a different way than students than the typical readers. We are talking about fluency in independent and dependent way, and I think we should continue look on this term in those two aspects. I'm calling to more longitudinal studies in order to confirm our findings and to investigate more fluency, because I think it's a very, very rich land to look. And I thank Svea because I didn't conduct any fluency study until today, and this was a great opportunity to present and look on fluency in a different way. Thank you very much. Yes.
I of course enjoyed this talk very much. I have a question similar to the one I asked Michal yesterday. I'm trying to understand really what is underlying fluency, and it seems for you from the data you presented that fluency, the whole, is more than its parts, because even at the word level, you are able to reach good regression, but more in typical readers, you know, it's still, we're not understanding everything. Did you have a vocabulary measure? Because if you also want to contrast the two theories, is it more related to working memory, or is it more related to something about retrieval? Working memory in the data you presented starts out separate from fluency, and then in the older ages you more see the difference, and I'm wondering what's happening in vocabulary across the years.
So for, as I mentioned, this was a very big study, and we had 1,000 kids overall, which we measured, and we didn't put vocabulary just until the grade 7, where we have a little bit of morphological awareness, but we didn't assess vocabulary throughout the years. And of course, this is a very important thing to look at when you measure, when you're doing a study. But again, we didn't look on this aspect. Thank you.